Thanks for joining me on Radio Taiwan International. You're listening to Sunny Side Up, a weekly escape from the headlines that weigh us down. I'm Eloise Phillips, and in a world flooded with negative news cycles, I'm here every Tuesday to shine a light on the quiet heroes, the breakthroughs, and the everyday wins happening right now, across the globe and in our own backyards. From innovative communities in Taiwan to heartwarming news abroad, I'll share stories that remind us hope still exists. Join me for positive news reports, guests' personal highlights from their week, and special features with local changemakers. Tune in, lift up, and let's spread the good vibes together. Keep listening over the next few minutes to hear stories about rainforest restoration in Scotland, a low-tech solution to heat waves, and financial benefits for travellers to Taiwan. After that, join me as I explore the roots and local impact of an internationally recognised day that the globe celebrated just this past Saturday. It's a movement that connects over 1 billion people worldwide, and right here in Taiwan, it's driving things from eco-friendly agriculture to indigenous community independence. Can you guess what it is? Stay tuned to find out. First, let's look at our top stories. Volunteers across Scotland are quietly rebuilding one of the country's rarest ecosystems, planting millions of native trees to restore fragments of the Atlantic rainforest. Around 100 people from varied backgrounds, including retirees, professionals, and young families, have collectively gathered more than 11 million seeds by hand, according to reporting by The Guardian. Their efforts have already helped cultivate nearly 8 million trees, many destined for reforestation sites in the Western Highlands and Islands. Using detailed ecological maps, volunteers trek into remote and often rugged terrain to locate native species such as hazel, Cecil oak, juniper, and wild cherry. These trees, which naturally colonised Scotland after the last ice age, are valued for their genetic resilience to local climates, an advantage seen as critical in the face of global warming. Seeds are carefully processed at a nursery near Inverness run by the conservation group Trees for Life, where they are sorted and grown into saplings before being replanted in their original ecological zones. The young trees are now supporting restoration projects across areas like Westeros and Loch Harbour, as well as smaller community-led woodland initiatives. Experts estimate that only about 30,000 hectares of Britain's Atlantic rainforest remain, making it one of the UK's most fragile habitats. The citizen-led initiative is helping fill a gap left by commercial forestry, reaching areas too remote for large-scale operations. For many volunteers, the work is both practical and personal. As one participant put it, the project offers a way to take meaningful action on climate change, while quite literally planting the future. A fierce heatwave is sweeping across Europe, sending temperatures soaring and pushing cities to look for simple ways to stay cool. From France to Greece, residents are rediscovering low-tech tricks that rely not on air conditioning, but on the power of white surfaces to reflect the sun. One unlikely hero is crushed chalk, sold in France as blanc de meudon, which some households and schools are mixing with water and brushing over windows as a temporary shield against the heat, according to reports from the BBC. This chalk wash creates a pale film that still lets in daylight but bounces away much of the sun's energy. The idea builds on the science of cool roofs and white paint, which can help lower indoor temperatures by reflecting sunlight and radiating heat back into the atmosphere. In contrast to conventional air conditioning, which consumes electricity and releases hot air outdoors, white coatings use energy only during production and then passively cool buildings over time. That same principle is transforming lives thousands of kilometers away in India, where extreme heat is hitting women in urban slums particularly hard. In Jodhpur, in the desert state of Rajasthan, summer temperatures can climb close to 48 degrees Celsius, turning tin and asbestos roofs into giant radiators. A local non-profit, Mahila Housing Trust, or MHT, is helping women paint their roofs with affordable white solar reflective paint, creating cool roofs that noticeably bring indoor temperatures down. After women in the neighbourhood of Badi Bil Basti painted their own roofs, afternoons became bearable enough for children to study indoors instead of battling headaches, nausea and nosebleeds caused by the heat. MHT has now supported tens of thousands of similar cool roofs across Indian states, combining practical training on climate risks with simple, hands-on solutions women can lead themselves. From chalked windows in Europe to painted rooftops in India, these small white surfaces add up to a hopeful story. Communities using low-cost tools and women in particular taking the lead to stay safe, healthy and productive in a warming world. Taiwan is stepping up efforts to welcome international visitors back with new incentives aimed at encouraging repeat travel. The Tourism Administration announced plans to launch a reward program offering up to 8,000 new Taiwanese dollars, around $250 in travel benefits for eligible foreign visitors. Returning travellers could receive $5,000, while accompanying companions may qualify for an additional $3,000 as part of a broader push to promote deeper exploration and business travel in Taiwan. Officials say the initiative builds on steady recovery in key markets. Japanese arrivals reached 1.48 million in 2025, marking more than 12% growth from the previous year and rebounding to nearly 70% of pre-pandemic levels. To further strengthen ties, Transport Ministry's Tourism Administration Director General, Chen Yuxiu, recently met with leaders from Japan's travel industry, including the Japan Association of Travel Agents. The move comes as Japan launches its own outbound travel campaign and reduces passport fees starting July 1st, measures expected to boost overseas travel demand. Taiwan authorities hope that combining these favourable trends with new incentives will attract more Japanese visitors and reinforce tourism exchanges between the two sides. And that's it for the news, but after a short break, we will find out the answer to my question at the beginning. What exactly were people celebrating this past weekend worldwide? Find out in this month's edition of This Week in Good History. Hello everyone, I hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Now, if you were out and about this past Saturday, the first Saturday of July, you may or may not have noticed a lot of local pride and community events happening around town. If so, that is because the world was celebrating a massive milestone, International Cooperative Day. If not, keep listening to learn more about it. Even though the official celebrations happened over the weekend, the impact of these unique organisations is something we feel every single day, whether you know it or not. So this week in Sunny Side Up's This Week in Good History segment, we are diving into what cooperatives actually are, the incredible story of how they started, and how they are actively shaping a better, more harmonious world right now in 2026. So, let's start with the basics. What exactly is a cooperative? Well, unlike traditional businesses that are owned by external shareholders looking for a financial return, co-ops are democratic models of ownership. They are built on a beautifully simple concept: everyday people coming together freely to meet their shared economic, social or cultural needs through an enterprise they own and run themselves. And this isn't a newfangled trend. This movement has deep, gritty roots. If we look at the history books, the absolute earliest record of a cooperative goes all the way back to March of 1761 in Fenwick, Scotland. A group of local weavers squeezed a giant sack of oatmeal into a tiny cottage front room and started selling it at a discount to help their neighbours, forming the Fenwick Weavers Society. But the real blueprint for the modern movement came in 1844 in Rochdale, a northern English town. A group of 28 cotton mill artisans, now famously known as the Rochdale Pioneers, were facing miserable working conditions and desperately low wages. They couldn't afford the basic necessities of life because food prices were sky high. So what did they do? They pooled their tiny scarce resources together to buy basic goods at lower prices. When they first opened, they only had 4 items for sale: flour, oatmeal, sugar, and butter. But they didn't just change what they sold, they changed how business was done. They decided that shoppers should be treated with honesty and respect, that every customer should share in the profits, and that everyone should have a democratic vote in how the business was run. Within 3 months, their little shop went from opening 2 nights a week to 5 days a week. Around the same time, over in Germany, pioneers like Friedrich Wilhelm Raiffeisen and Franz Hermann Schulz-Delitzsch were independently creating credit unions, proving that people could also take control of their own financial destinies. Fast forward a few decades to August of 1895, and delegates from all over the globe, from Argentina and Australia to Italy, India, and the USA, gathered in London to form the International Cooperative Alliance, or the ICA. The ICA actually started celebrating International Cooperative Day all the way back in 1923, but the movement was recognised globally in December of 1992, when the United Nations General Assembly officially proclaimed the first Saturday of July to be the International Day of Cooperatives. Since 1995, the UN and the ICA have marked this day jointly. In fact, this past weekend marked the 104th International Cooperative Day and the 32nd UN International Day of Cooperatives. Today, the ICA is one of the largest and oldest non-governmental organisations in existence, representing a mind-boggling 1.2 billion co-op members worldwide. Every year, the UN and the ICA choose a specific theme for the day. For instance, back in 2010, the focus was all on how cooperative enterprises empower women. But this year, for 2026, the theme hits incredibly close to home for all of us. This year's theme is Cooperatives for a Peaceful World. Now, you might be wondering, that all sounds great globally, but what about right here? Well, Taiwan has actually an incredibly robust history of local cooperatives that act as the backbone of its communities. From the local city credit cooperatives to the famous Homemakers Union providing eco-friendly food to urban families, the co-op model is thriving all over the island. But one of my favourite examples of this year's theme, using cooperation to build fairness, community and economic security, can be found in our rural and mountainous regions. In these areas, small-scale farmers and indigenous communities frequently utilise cooperatives to prevent corporate exploitation and protect their native cultures. Take, for example, the Dawu Coffee Production Cooperative down in Pingdong County. Dawu Township is home to indigenous communities who farm incredible wild organic coffee trees. According to Social Economic Development web portal, in the past, these smallholders faced a massive problem: predatory middlemen who would buy their valuable coffee beans for incredibly low prices, leaving the farmers with very little. So, the community decided enough was enough. They formed a cooperative. Instead of working in isolation, they pooled their resources and built Taiwan's very first international standard organic coffee post-processing plant. By collectively processing, roasting and marketing their own brand, they completely cut out the middlemen. The local impact has been profound. They've secured stable local employment, kept the financial profits directly within the township, developed vibrant coffee tourism programs, and they even used their revenue to fund school scholarships for the children of the village. It is a living, breathing example of how a cooperative doesn't just run a business, it lifts up an entire community. So I also hope that this year's theme reminds us that true peace is so much more than just the absence of conflict. True peace requires inclusion, fairness, open dialogue, and economic security. As the Director General of the ICA, Jeroen Douglas pointed out, as cited on their website, co-ops don't just reduce conflict, they actively build the foundation of positive peace by expanding access to vital services, boosting local economies, and fostering a deep sense of trust and solidarity. Think about it. In a world where we often feel social fragmentation or a decline in trust, cooperatives act as bridges because they are built on democratic ownership, open membership, and collective responsibility. They create safe spaces where people can be heard and work together, crossing social and economic divides. This theme is so vital that it is also anchoring the upcoming ICA Global Conference in Panama this September, titled, quote, Building Bridges, Cooperative Contributions for a Peaceful World, end quote. It also aligns perfectly with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 16, which focuses on peace, justice, and strong institutions. Whether it is your local credit union, a community-owned grocery store, or an agricultural cooperative, these organisations prove that when we put people before profits, harmony follows. So, as we go about our day, let's carry that spirit of cooperation with us. Supporting a local co-op isn't just a shopping choice, it's a vote for a fairer, more peaceful world. Thank you for tuning in to Sunny Side Up's celebration of International Cooperative Day. Remember, positive change is happening everywhere, from Taiwan's vibrant communities to stories touching your own life. If you'd like to share your story and appear on the show, please get in contact by email. You can write to me at eloise@rti.org.tw. That's eloise@rti.org.tw. Join me next Tuesday for more feel-good news, fresh personal highlights, and our monthly local Changemaker Spotlight. I'm Eloise Phillips. Thanks for tuning in, stay uplifted, and keep seeing things sunny side up. Tune in tomorrow for more programs by Radio Taiwan International. Until next time.
Do you like movies? Do you like old movies? Boy, have I got a show for you. My show, Retro Reels, hosted by me, Hannah Belinsky, airs just after the news block every Wednesday. It's my opportunity to flex my film buff muscles and offers a mix of historical and cultural information, objective analysis, subjective criticism, and sarcasm. Tune in and get wise to some great movies you might have missed. Movies made before you were even born. Every Wednesday, right after the news on Radio Taiwan International.